You're listening to the Uptown Girls podcast. I'm your host, Martina Barley. Let's talk. I always choke at this part. I don't know what to say.
This is where you just...
Immediately, I'm like...
It gets you.
Yeah. Welcome to the Uptown Girls podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So we have today, one of our fabulous clients flew in all the way from sunny, beautiful Baltimore, Maryland. I'm so excited that you flew here. This is your first podcast you've ever done, right?
Yes.
Wow. Well, we have a lot to cover because you are a very interesting individual. And really, I think we should just pick up our conversation from the car.
Gosh.
We were talking so much in the car, and I was like, we should really hold some of this. So why don't you bring us back to the car business?
Yeah. Just started.
Yeah, I guess, how'd you get into the car business?
Yeah.
Give us 60 seconds on your background there.
All right. So I was 19 years old, made it out of school alive, barely. College was not for me. And I was like, I need a job. So I went and worked at a call center for MCI, which you probably never even heard of. It would be like AT&T.
Okay.
So it's a small business thing, just calling small businesses every day. I was doing really well 6 months in. Obviously, I'm 19 years old, thinking I'm a rock star.
You're the man, yeah.
I didn't like something they said, and I quit.
I've been there.
Yeah, so summer, I'm like, I think I took summer off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I need a job. Started applying for jobs, applied to a car salesman ad. So I started selling cars. I was 19 years old at a Hyundai store, doing well, 6 months into a year. And I was a mess. So when I say doing well, I could sell cars.
Yeah.
I could barely show up sometimes,
The best salesmen are the biggest train wrecks.
Well, that was me. 19 train wreck.
Yeah.
Moved up to a Honda store and was there for a long time. Moved to a couple different Honda stores, but with other managers and people. So you it's a very tight industry. So you kind of go with, who your team is, your squad. So that was going well. And then I kind of really went off the rails. So where my life kind of went from having fun, a little bit of a problem to a big problem.
Now we got a big problem.
Yeah, I was a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
So around 22, I had to go away for a minute, get my life in order, came back out. And I was a good salesman. Mm-hmm. So even during this whole time, I still did a real good job. So they kept me around. It's hard to get rid of a problem that does a good job.
Yes, it is.
And I was a kid. These are guys that were 50, 60 years old, 40 years old. So they kind of liked the stories. I mean, they knew it was a problem, but, it was okay. Mm-hmm. So
as long as you were selling, it was okay.
So around 21 is where I started to get real bad.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward through that, and we can dig into that later if you want. But keeping the car business for now, I went, I got my life in order just before I turned 23. I'm back in the car business. At that time, I went to work for a Jaguar store. A friend of mine owned it and did really well. I have my life together now, right? So now I was doing really good. And around 25, I became a manager, and I did that up until I was probably 35.
That's young to be a manager of a car business.
Lexus store. Yeah,
wow.
It was a big position at 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you did that for 10 years.
Yeah. And I was finance director, general sales manager, general manager, a few different stores mixed into there, but yeah.
I didn't realize how important the finance managers are at car dealerships.
It's the highest paying role, not paying, but most income producing.
Yeah.
Because you're paying for paper, right?
Right.
You're not paying for cars sitting on the lot. You're not paying for, my desk was the size of this room.
Yeah.
And I produced a lot of money every month. So it's a big part of a car business.
Yeah. All right. So you do that till 35. What brings you to become an insurance agent?
So I took full custody of my son around that time. That's what we were talking about. He was probably 7. Mm-hmm. So, was a general sales manager of a store, running the store, working 50 hours a week roughly. And we were coming off our best year of that dealership being open for 10 years. And I went to the owner and I was like, look, I need like 2 hours a night extra to be able to like put my kid down. And they all knew what was going on. This wasn't a secret. Mm-hmm. So he's like, that can't happen.
You can't have 2 hours.
Meanwhile, the funny thing is I was already doing it. Like everybody in the store knew what was going on. It's not like they're sitting there at 9 o'clock at night. So it was already happening. But I wanted the blessing because I wanted it to be right? Mm-hmm. He said that can't happen. And that's when I was like, I got to get out of here. So why insurance? How insurance? So I started looking, right? It's not like you can just go find a job that you can do whatever you want.
Right.
So doesn't matter how good of a salesman you are, you still have to show up. Mm-hmm. So looking, or either need to buy a business, start a business, right? Sub shop, liquor store, or something like that. And it was midnight. I clear out my notifications every night before bed. LinkedIn, I saw it. It was agent opportunity, agent retiring, book a business, click here. So I clicked it. Luckily, it said click here for resume. I never had a resume, right? I was in the car business. I had a pretty big name in the car business. Yeah. I never needed a resume, right? If I wanted to go back in the car business today, I could make a phone call. Yeah. I'll have a job tomorrow. Right. So if it would have required me to write a resume and upload a resume, it wouldn't have happened. I just wouldn't have done it, right? It's midnight. I wasn't gonna like pin note that for tomorrow morning. No. Yeah. So I clicked resume, went to bed. Got an email, conference call this day and time. Did that. Meet this recruiter, next email. Did that.
See, I thought that you were going to say that one of the agents you worked with at the car dealership brought you into it.
No. This was total kismet. What's the word? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bashir was, it was a fluke, luck.
It's crazy because there is an obvious connection from car dealerships. If you don't know the connection when you're running an insurance agency, you call the car dealership to tell them your customer's got a new car or they're whatever.
I had lots of friends that owned insurance agencies. Yeah. My company insurance agencies. I sold cars to people that owned agencies. So I knew quite a few. Was never recruited.
Interesting.
And recruitment's tough though, because I was at a very high level, so they wouldn't have been able to afford to recruit me. Right. Just couldn't happen.
It's hard, and boo-hoo, this is so hard, but it's hard when you make a certain income to switch careers. You don't want to take a huge dip. So it's like, how do you go from something where you're really starting over?
It's like getting out of the mafia. Yeah, like you can't walk away from that money. Right. It's just too hard. So that's why a lot of people don't make transitions from careers that they're unhappy with or lives that they're not happy with. Yeah. Because you're married to that need of having to generate that amount of income.
Yeah, I did the same exact thing when I left my old company to start Uptown. I left a disgusting amount of money for nothing.
Mine was forced from like a bad situation to a great situation. Mm-hmm. Even in the year that I made nothing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, not much. First year, 2 years. Mm-hmm. I never second guessed it.
Because the flexibility, or you just had a feeling like, okay, I know I can grow this?
I knew so going back to that, I left. So met the recruiters. It was perfect. Met, my area liaison. Hey, this is in your area. I need a business plan in 45 days. Everything started moving. Yeah.
What year is this?
2015. Okay. So that happened pretty quick, and it worked out really well. I went to 2 funerals around that time, like mega, a parent of a, super business person in our area, same thing, 2 people. Both the funeral stories were like they were working for somebody, they were young, they went out they got married, went out on their own, had nothing. And I'm talking, these are like mega successful people. I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. And I knew my talent. I knew my ability. I was a manager, so it wasn't like I haven't led people. And I knew I wouldn't fail. If I could make everybody else money my whole life, why wouldn't I be able to make myself money?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you have to. Sierra asked me once, what do you think what do you think is a trait that every business owner has? And I said, you have to have so much confidence that it's like almost, it's just a stupid amount of confidence in yourself.
If I'm going up against anybody, I'm going to bet on myself.
Yeah.
In anything.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not going to bet if I know I'm not betting against Michael Phelps, right? I can't beat him.
Yeah.
But in something I stand a chance in,
right.
I'm going to bet on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you bring your brother in? Because I love that you work with your brother because obviously me, Carla, Marisa are all related and it's very interesting sometimes, the dynamic there.
Yeah. I got really lucky.
Yeah.
He transitioned. He was in insurance. My father was in financial planner. So we kind of grew up all around this. So he was in the industry in a different area. Mm-hmm. He had kids, was in a transition point with his life where his kids were getting a little older and going back to school. So his lifestyle was changing. Mm-hmm. And I was probably 6 months in, 8 months, no more than a year.
Yeah.
And, we had a quick conversation and, he came back and was like, yeah, if this is something you are serious about, I would do it. So we talked about it and we did it. And it can go a lot of different ways, right? And a lot of people, are like, well, aren't you nervous? And, what if it goes bad? Numbers don't lie, right? Business doesn't lie. Sales doesn't lie. So it's easy to say if it's not working. Yeah. Right?
And isn't like there's something to be said about like you're cut from the same cloth. Like you can trust him like you trust no one else. Most business owners that just hire people don't have that level of loyalty, of trust. Like no one will care about your business as much as you, but like
he does.
He does.
Yeah.
He's going to care about it a lot more.
Yeah. I've been so lucky to be able to have him there. Mm-hmm. It's made us closer, right? It didn't draw us apart, which it could. And I really try to do my best to make sure that I make him feel like he's a partner, right? He's not like my second employee, right?
Your assistant.
You're not my number one guy.
Yeah.
Like I look at him as a partner.
Right.
I can't, it's not worded that way because of my business, but that's how I look at him.
Because he cares as much. He puts as much work in. It's his business too.
Yeah. So I try to really reiterate that around every turn.
Yeah.
When
did you get your second office? I should know that.
The height of COVID, December 20.
So that means you interviewed and like you found out you were getting it like right in the middle of COVID?
Yep.
Wow.
So typically we're like 5 years when you're allowed to get a second office. Mm-hmm. Whatever happened behind the scenes, we had approval to do it in 4 years.
Yeah.
So I started having some people call me and start reaching out, sales leaders, and, hey, would you look at this? Would you look here? Would you do this? So I was pretty clear about what I would do and what I wouldn't do, certain areas and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're listening, you don't understand the insurance business. Like you can't just, at least with your company, you can't just say, I want to open an office here. There has to be an opportunity. You have to interview for it. You're going up against other people. Like it's not just, I want this, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So, there were a few people reaching out. There were a few opportunities available and one fit well. Mm-hmm. So, I probably knew 4 months before. Mm-hmm. So, it was right up in it. And the way I looked at it is, once again, if you're going to bet on yourself, I knew it was the toughest time to do it. But there aren't a lot of times they ask you to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I said no, I might not have heard back from them for another 2, 4, 5 years.
And you're being asked to do it. It's not like other people are pursuing that opportunity. Yep. When they come to you, it's because they want you to do it.
Yeah. So team player jumped in. Look, when I opened in 2016, it was May of 2016. So nothing was going on in the world bad. Mm-hmm. but we were having some increases. It was 2 years increases. So it was one of the hardest times to do business.
So do you feel like it's calmed down since then, or do you feel like it's still...
So weird. Is it calmed down? Yeah, the world's calm, but it's also on the edge. It's not calm. It's not riot. It's just... Since COVID, we were talking about this earlier with employees and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's just a weird time. And it's never going to go back to what it was.
I know.
Hopefully it goes back to something.
I know.
But it's just always feels like it's on the edge of something.
And I wonder how much of it is like, I personally think that social media, like we're also addicted to it, obviously, but I think it's like so detrimental to our mental health that it's making us all crazy and like everyone's a conspiracy theorist and we're all like nervous about XYZ, whereas like 10 years ago, no one was living life that way.
There's more information out there now.
Yes.
And if you look at it, people are like, well, this didn't happen then and this didn't. It did. You didn't know about it.
Right.
You didn't know about it until they had facts. You didn't know about it until it was a real story.
Yeah.
You just didn't hear about it instantly.
Yeah.
And I spend the bulk of my days scrubbing my old Facebook posts.
Still?
Well, it's not like I go through and do it. But every day you see a memory pop up. And then you look at this like, today's great.
Yeah.
Like, what was I even talking about? The grammar's bad, right? It's not, you don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's what Facebook was.
Yeah, it was just
10,
a happy place.
12, 14 years ago. You wrote, I had a good day at work.
Yeah.
Like that was news. Now it is not that. So, you just, social media was around. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like what it is now. Now it's news networks. It's full blown. And you can get in a rabbit hole, right? A lot of people don't realize you're getting what you order. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
You're at McDonald's and you're pushing those buttons. Yes. That's what it's feeding you.
Yeah.
And the more you click this, the more that's going to be there.
And it's hard because if you see a post that's like, I always get like Reddit posts pop up in my Explore page and I always click on them. So they keep coming up. But then it's like, what's the worst fact you've ever heard that makes you question everything? And then I scroll and I'm like, oh no, like I never had these fears before.
Right. So I saw one a couple weeks ago, kind of shouldn't even be legal.
Yeah.
Like anxiety sweatshirt. First of all, the sweatshirt doesn't cure anxiety. And if anything, you want to tell yourself that you feel better because you're wearing a sweatshirt. Sweatshirts are comfy. We all know that. That's why the girls steal them, right? We get it. You should not be allowed to advertise that your sweatshirt is going to cure anxiety and it's the best pillow for anxiety and the best, sweatshirt. It's you didn't have that 10 years ago.
No, the blankets, all that. But it's like because we're so anxious, stuff like that, I would order that. We're desperate for something.
You're like, I have that hoodie.
Send me the link. It's just there's too much information out there and there's so much conflicting information out there that like no one even knows what to think. What is reality?
It's, when you look at news, remember, and this was real news people, people that knew what they were talking about. When there's too much information, you can't make a decision, right? When there's not enough information, you don't know what to do.
Yes.
It's almost like the more you research, right? Like if you're looking for a car, and we used to have this, people that bring a clipboard and you have 87 pieces, this person,
they're never going to buy.
Yeah. It's too much information.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to decipher it out. But you have to watch a little bit. You have to know a little bit. And the more you know, the scarier it is because you realize that a lot of conspiracy theories aren't conspiracies and that they're real.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
A lot of it's usually true.
Yeah.
And there's people that make it sound like it's a conspiracy. And I'm not talking about anything specific because we ain't getting into that.
No, I know.
But look, a lot of times they're on to something.
Yeah.
This
is taking a dark turn.
Well, we're ordering that.
I think we should turn the dial up.
Feed.
No, I was going to say, let's make it even darker. Well, let's see. I have a lot of things on here. All right. So in this world that we're in right now, it's not the same as it was when you opened. What do you think has to be different now about running a business, whether it's employee related, whether it's marketing related? What do you think has to change?
It's funny. When you wrote a business plan, when I opened, you needed a 5-year business plan. a 5-year business plan was probably a short business plan 50 years ago. Now, you're lucky if you can get a 1-year business plan with as much things change in the environment, right?
Yeah.
2 years, that's probably hopeful. If you can keep an employee for 2 years, you're doing a good job nowadays, which in the past it was 5 to 10, in the way past 50. So that's the biggest thing, is that there's something always changing.
Yeah.
It's constant, and if you're not changing with it, it's tough, right?
And you're in an old school industry that is kind of resistant to change.
We're the slowest to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
we'll
the company.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But we're going to make sure that it's changing that way before we change.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Really take your time.
We like to lead from the back on the changes.
Yeah. So let's go back to, you mentioned you had custody of your son, full custody when he was 7. How has it been since you switched over to the insurance agency? How do you balance being a single father and running a business? Actually, you're running 2 businesses.
So that's why I did it. So that's step 1. I built it to be able to do that. So that's step 2.
Meaning be home on time, be able to take a day and go to a game.
School.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to pick them up from school. Be there for the events, the parent days, all of it. So I don't get to choose. I don't get a weekend off every other week. I don't get 3 days a week. I never have. And I'm happy. It's the best thing that I've been able to do.
Yeah.
It's the reason I got into this business, was to be able, I could have been one of these people that stayed and worked and got a nanny and just stayed and doing what I was doing. And I didn't want to do that. So it's been the best. I made sure I leave. I used to set my alarms to make sure I didn't miss pickups, right? If you're in the middle of a conference call and it's, your brain's on business mode. So I'm running out of the office.
Yeah.
I don't miss anything. Home for dinner. I mean, obviously, if there's a meeting or something that needs to be done, I'm there. But I built it for that. There's a lot of people that build their business to work in there and stay till 9 o'clock at night. I never wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So we packed a lot of success into when we're there. 9 to 5 is the team's there, and it's their job. And the bigger your team gets, is the more that it's their job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I run the company. I don't work there. So that's helped me to set it up to where it's a moving machine without me having to sit there till 5 o'clock. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have traveled like some unbelievable places. What are some of the coolest places you've been?
If you ask him, probably Hawaii.
Yeah.
I think that's probably on the top of his list.
Yeah.
I just got back from, it's funny, I just got back from Munich. We were talking about it, which I loved. I thought it was a great, he bailed like a month before.
He didn't want to do it?
No, he's always enjoyed it. He enjoyed Vancouver a lot. That was one of the big trips we went on. Hawaii, trying to think of what others. We've gone a lot of places.
Yeah.
Like a month out, he's like, I don't want to go.
Did he have stuff going on, or he just wasn't into the idea?
My son's like a fisherman.
Yeah.
Like outdoors. And he likes video games and stuff like that, but he's not like a New York dude.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to walk around a city and shop and hang out and eat. I get it.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. I like the other stuff too. But you can put me anywhere, I'm good.
Yeah.
So a month out, he's like, I don't want to go. I'm like, really? Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Oh my God.
I'm like, look, I said, I want to tell you, I booked you a pot, because we always talked about first class pot. He would bring that up, right? You see him on TikTok and stuff like that. I said, I want to tell you, I'll surprise you. I got you a pod. Like, we're going in the pods. He's like, I don't know if I believe you, but that's not going to be enough to push it over the top. I said, look, I totally understand. I said, I'm not going to make you go. I'm not going to tell you have to go, which a lot of parents would.
Yeah.
I said, I know you're going to have fun. I know it'll be a good time. I want you to go, but this will be your decision.
Yeah.
Right? He's 15 now.
Yeah.
So he didn't. I gave him a week or two before I canceled this and that, and he's like, yeah, I'm out.
Oh my gosh.
So Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah.
It was Munich. You can drink there when you're 14, apparently. Mm-hmm. And I sent him some TikToks before,
To try to entice him.
Hey, they're serving beer here. So
and it's legal, yeah.
He's like, you wouldn't have let me drink. I said, I guess we'll never know. But yeah, 14, you can drink if you're with your parents.
Wow.
16 without.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy he turned that down.
Yeah. So
Wow.
he, when I got back, I said, did you regret it? He said, kinda.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's going to be one of those learning lessons, right?
Yeah.
And it won't be our last trip.
No. But you won't go there again, I'm sure.
I would. It was nice.
Would you?
I really enjoyed it.
Maybe you'll give him a do-over.
Yeah, I liked it there. Yeah.
All right. You mentioned back when you were at the car business, how did you put it? Your life was off the rails or something like that.
Yeah, young.
Talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us. I know you've been sober 20 years, right?
Yeah.
That's wild.
21 years in February coming up. It'll be 21.
So share as much of that as you feel like or want to.
You ready for that?
Yeah.
Yeesh. So I probably started, 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm. So this is before you're in the car business.
Yeah, I was a kid.
Yeah.
14, 15, having fun, right? Fun.
Drew Barrymore stuff. Yeah.
Fun. Just fun, right? Mm-hmm. Beer out back or, some weed, normal stuff. Around when I was 17, 16, like the pills kind of started coming around, right? And it was normal level stuff like hydrocodones and Valiums and, not that you should be doing that. It's bad, right? But
Just the basics,
it was in our area, it was around. Around when I was 17, 18 is when OxyContin came about. So I don't know if you know much about that, but
I don't know much.
there's some Netflix shows on.
Yeah.
It's literally that time, and it's all about how it happened. It's the strongest, right? It's made for cancer patients. It's not even a person who has a non-addictive personality. If you do it for any short period of time in a row, you're going to be addicted. So that we lived that, and they were around a lot.
So it was just getting big and
Just
more
came
accessible.
out. They were everywhere and around us.
Yeah.
So it was my best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from when you were 17 to what, 20?
A week before my 23rd birthday.
Wow. So you don't drink either now? Did you?
I don't do anything.
Just
I haven't done anything since then.
How has it helped you think, in business? Has it helped you? Is it something
Have
you
you ever
acknowledge?
gone to a meeting and watched people at the end of the night?
Yes.
Not drink? Have you ever gone to a meeting not drinking?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
I can make clear decisions. And I can represent myself without having to make excuses or apologize.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point. The meetings that you're around, there's a lot of whining and dining, and this person is on a vacation in their mind, so they're going to just get absolutely hammered. Is that probably at this point not as much, but was that ever hard for you to be in the situation, or were you just very much, when you were done, you were done?
Yeah, done. So leading up to all of it, right? It was bad. Bad. I'm lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
What we did on a daily basis would kill
The average person.
more than the average small company.
Wow.
Yeah. Like your office, what I did on a daily basis would not survive.
Wow.
So when I say it was bad, like I had friends get shot, I had friends in jail, like bad.
Wow.
Like probably, I'd say 5 to 10 of my close friends. And I'm not saying like somebody I knew from my town, like people that I hung out with every day.
So it was like
overdosed and died. Like
a social thing.
Yeah. Just turned into, that was our pandemic, was opioids.
Jeez.
And it got ugly,
Yeah.
You don't want to go into all of it, but it was bad.
I could only imagine, but don't scare me too much.
So when I was done, I had tried to be done a few times, right? Rehab, over a year and a half. And when I was done, I was done. I had a conversation with a friend of mine. I was in a psych ward,
Yeah.
and I hung up the phone, and that was it.
You just flipped it in
Done.
your mind.
I said, I got it. I get it. And that was it. I put the phone down. And that's where it was hard because I had to convince everybody around me that I was done, right? My parents heard it 20 times, this counselor, everybody. So
you had to just do it. You couldn't even talk about it really anymore.
I said, I'll do whatever you want. there's going to be no argument. Whatever you say, it's going to be done, and I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So, like, if they said I have to be up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym with my mother, like, live at home, like, I followed I wasn't allowed to drive my car that I paid for. Like,
wow.
Yeah. I had no.
How long you think until that just became your norm and you were just like, okay, I can.
Quick.
Yeah.
Because, look, it's hard. It's easy to break somebody's trust, right? And when they're done with you, sometimes they're pretty done with you and sometimes they're really done with you, right? But once you start doing good, people want to believe it, especially people you love. Right. Right? It doesn't matter if you hate that person, you're still rooting for them. Right. From afar. So if they love you and you love that person, then you're going to really. So, look, I went to meetings every day. I followed every rule. I did everything humanly possible to show that I was doing the right thing. It's
pretty crazy that because I feel like, I guess I don't know that much, but I would assume that a lot of people that like struggle with addiction would have to remove themselves from like the car business, for example, where you're there with the older guys that want to like hear your crazy stories. And then it gets to a point where you're like, there are no more crazy stories happening. And like, but you're still in the same environment. Was that hard?
Well, so there's a saying, you take people, places, and things, right? If you put me at age 20 in Miami, I'm the same person, right? I might be a little worse. If you put me in Nebraska, I'm the same person. It might be a little harder, but I'm going to be the same person. So you're going to bring you wherever you go. So changing, a lot of people are like, I need to move to be better. But you're still bringing you. Right? Like if you, that's a good point. If you go through a bad breakup with a girl and I say, well, I need to move, like you're still you. You're just in a different city. You just don't, nobody knows your story, right? You gotta, But if you say, I'm going to start going to the gym and I'm going to compete in a lifting competition by the end of next year, those are the people you hang out with. Those are your habits now. So it's the same, right? And I look at it as like an allergy. Right? It's not that I don't like doing that stuff. It's I can't, right? I'm allergic to lobster. You can't eat lobster. So that's kind of the easiest.
It's a good way to look at it.
It's hard to get to that point for a lot of people. And I'm lucky that I didn't have to, they call it white knuckle, right? I'm lucky I didn't have to white knuckle it out. But you look, if I walk in a room, especially early, right? First year, 2 years, 5 years, and there's people doing stuff that I don't want to be drinking, right? I wouldn't have walked into a bar and hung out with friends my first 6 months clean. Maybe not even my first 2 years clean. But eventually, when you have, if you're doing the right things, it's a safer place to be. It's not that you want to be, I don't stay out till 2 a.m. Never do. I never have.
Do you get a lot of
I leave at 12. If I'm doesn't matter how good it is. If I'm 12, that's my bedtime.
Nothing really is happening after 12. Anyways.
Even if it is, it's nothing good.
It's nothing good.
So like when I go out, it could be the best time. New Year's hits, ball drops. I'll see you later. That's okay for me.
And you're used to it by now.
I do not need to be out till 2 a.m.
And you know what's crazy? You wake up every single day feeling good.
I don't have to
you don't have a hangover.
The older I get, like my knees hurt, my shoulder hurts. But I don't have to what did I do? Oh my gosh, I gotta call this person. I shouldn't have said that. I don't have that. So
that's probably just unbelievable for business. You don't.
I've been at a lot of those meetings where you see some bad stuff go down. It's a relief not to be in those situations. I worked for one of the companies I worked with. They would have a Christmas party every year, and there was an officer of the company, very high up. Every year he would be in trouble, to the point where they actually had handlers on him.
Wow!
And eventually they had to part ways with him. But it was every year. You knew there was going to be an incident. And I could call 10 people on my phone right now. They'll tell you the name, and they'll tell you the same thing.
Wow.
It was known. This dude was going to have a problem. And I'm talking high up.
That's crazy. But he got away with it for a while.
It was just Wild West back then. The 2000s, late 90s. It was
different world.
It was a different time.
Different world. All right, let's bring it back to business. Not that we weren't talking business, but I want to hear from you. This is just a question I love. Do you think it's harder being a parent or being a boss?
It's the same. It's exactly the same. It's all about making a deal. Everything's a deal. It is.
Yeah.
Don't let any parent tell you it's not. Because if they don't think it's a deal, then they're really getting worked.
Yeah. The kid's making the deal.
And you don't even know it, right? Then you're really bad at it.
Yeah.
It's a deal. Everything's a deal. You can't talk to every employee the same. You can't talk to I have one child. If I had two, I couldn't talk to them the same.
Yeah.
They're not the same people. Right? If I talk to this one the way I talk to that one, somebody's either in tears or it's not working, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's the same. I mean, I look at my company as my child.
Yeah.
Right? That's my baby. And I treat every person, I try to. Every wrong I was wronged as an employee, and I mean wronged. I've been wronged many a time. You know, it wasn't all roses. You know, I've had to sue. I've had to, you know,
Wow.
yeah. I've been in some tough situations where it just total snubs.
Wow.
So I try to not do that as a business owner. If there's ever anything on the gray line or a fence, and I'm always going to give to where there's no question whether I did the right thing.
Yeah.
That makes me sleep at night.
Yeah.
That's how I stay clean and live my life is, look, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, but if there's any time I can try to make a conscious decision, whether it's right or wrong, I'm always going to try to go towards the right.
Yeah.
Never going to be like, screw them, you know, let them come in. I don't want to be in that situation.
You don't want to be that guy. When you said Sue, that it reminded me of this. What are your thoughts on non-compete?
It's a joke. Yeah, it's funny that you asked me that because I've been in I was in one major argument with a guy about it.
A guy that worked for you? Or
No, I would never ask that.
Yeah.
A guy that came to work for me.
Okay.
His old boss called me. He's got a non-compete. He sent him a cease and desist. This is a 23-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I called him. I said, look, first of all, you're wrong. You can't do it. It's not even legal, actually, unless you're really talking about super high-level positions.
Yeah.
Through COVID, they got rid of a lot of that. The guy was 30 miles away. Non-compete was like 50 miles. I'm like, you're going to make this kid move out of state. Like, he's not allowed to work in this vector.
23 years old.
I said, let me ask you a question. Would you sign that? No. Why not? Because I know better. Then why would you trap a kid?
A kid.
Right.
Yeah.
I go, if any top salesperson would never sign one, unless you're talking about super proprietary information, right? Like top secret, you know, Coca-Cola recipe, you know.
Right.
I would never sign one.
But they'll get you when you're young. I signed one when I was like probably 23.
You don't know what you're doing.
I had no idea.
just
I'm like,
signing
sure,
shit.
give me the pen. I'm never leaving this job.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Pretty much wipe your ass with them.
That's what I
Other
found
than,
out.
like,
Yeah, they're worthless.
Higher positions, it does have some worth. But I think it's a trap. And I think that people leave. It's like trapping a girlfriend.
Yeah.
You got a prenup or a boyfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
You got a prenup. Like, you're either trapping them to keep them there for money.
Exactly.
But, you know, if they want to leave, they can leave.
And there's just absolutely no accountability for the fact that if you lose an employee, it's because you
did something.
lost them.
Sometimes it's just not a good fit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that you don't have a good office.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not a good boss.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
So I've had close friends. I've had friends leave me working for me, and we're still friends. Business is, but a lot of people can't do that. For me, business is business.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it's hard to do that.
And it depends on your relationship too. Like some relationships can withstand it, and some it's like you're never going to talk to that person again.
I'm pretty good with that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's a trap. I think it's like you're holding it over their head. And I'm super against it. And, I've been in, and I told the kid, I said, I'll handle it. And I went to bat for him.
So he dropped it, the guy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. What's he going to do? Take the kid to court?
You're going to lose anyway.
Yeah. Okay. because this is technically a marketing podcast, give us one marketing tip that can be carried across any business type, not just insurance.
You got to be out.
You mean out in person?
Yep. In person. Can't all be social media posts. And it's not all business out selling. I'm not talking about just selling. You need to be present in your community.
What are some places that you try to be present?
Anywhere.
Any place.
Restaurants. Anything. You just have to be out. I drop pens off at places, and I don't drop pens off at places because I think I'm getting any business out of it. I get to go in and see them. I have dinner in there. I leave big tips. I don't leave. I leave big tips because I like these people. I leave big tips but I do it because it's my community.
Yeah.
And if there's ever a problem, I want them to call me. They don't need to call me because I went there and gave a big tip.
Right.
That's not my sales pitch.
Right.
But you have to be out. You can't be, and that's where it's hard with social media. We were talking about, right? Yeah. I don't post everything that goes on in my life. I do a lot of amazing things. I don't rub things in people's. I don't post cars. I don't post. Well, I post trips because I'm having fun and I try to share those. Most of my social media is food. That's because it's the only thing that I can share without having to feel like it's offensive or, it's, and I like food. But you got to be out. You can't run a business and not represent it. You can't run a business and not be in your community. And for me, being out and about means more. And I don't go out for fun all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you show up to a black tie affair on a night you do not feel like going to a black tie affair. But you show up and you have to be seen. You have to participate.
So you think, and I agree, like shaking a hand and having a conversation is more valuable than anything you can do on social media.
The one thing I can learn from the car business is face-to-face is will always beat over the phone. And I get it. There's people that are busy and that can only have a phone conversation. But there's no greater bond than doing business with somebody person to person. I didn't have to come here to do this.
No.
We've had a ton of calls. We've had a lot of Zooms. I wanted to see your office. I like you ladies. And I wanted to come up and hang out with you guys and learn a little bit about the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
So for me to get on a plane and what was it? An hour flight.
Yeah.
Right. Inexpensive room. And I'll fly back tomorrow.
Yeah. And you can't beat it. We wouldn't have gotten the same podcast over the Zoom.
No,
it just doesn't.
It's not. Because if you're sitting at a meeting on a Zoom, it's not the same. I'm the worst. I'm not engaged. Even big room meetings, I'm less engaged.
Yeah.
But in person, I'm better.
For sure.
Face to face, I would have a hard time telling any person in the world telling me that face to face business, shaking a hand, is going to be less than a Zoom meeting.
Do you think it's a lost art? You think people
100%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Do you make an effort to get like your younger team out in the community more to try to like build that, or you just?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Since COVID, finding people to work in an office is tough. Since COVID, we got a lot of remote. We do a lot of stuff out there, but it's not like I got a whole team of staff just waiting to attack the community. I wish I did.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Anyone looking? It's tough. Yeah. So no, there isn't like a team to go out and do that. When we first started, we had 3, 4, 5 people in there at sometimes,
Yeah.
But that's the hard part. But it is a lost art. It should be taught. We were talking about that with school and public speaking and looking people in your eyeball.
Yeah.
And shaking hands. I'm a huge believer in that.
Yeah.
And it creates a much stronger bond.
For sure. All right. Give us one sales tip.
One sales tip. You got to ask. You have to ask. Ask. And you have to let them know you're asking. Not secret asking, not hoping asking, and not do you want to do it?
Yes, I was just going to say.
Let's do it.
Yes.
It's when we have new people, it's always, so is this something you would like to do today? That's not a good ask, right? You've given all the information. This is what I need from you. Let's get this started today.
Yeah.
That's an ask.
Yeah.
Let's get this started right now. And it's not a pressure thing. It's an asking thing.
Yeah.
And then if they respond with, a no or whatever it is, then you might have to re-ask, right? You go back, you solve for that problem, and then you have to re-ask. It's not 25 years ago selling MCI. We were not allowed to hang up the phone until we got 5 no's.
Oh, that's old school sales.
5 no's was the rule. And
Wow.
I remember that. I was a 19-year-old kid, not in a clear state of mind.
Could you imagine any 19-year-old kid doing that now where they're cold calling and
We made 400 calls a day. That was a success. So there was an African guy that sat behind me. And I was just trying to remember his name, but I probably remember real close to it. That dude, he would make 400 to 500 calls, and he was the killer.
Wow.
I was a kid, but
Yeah.
I knew 400 calls was a successful day. And I landed such a big account, shouldn't have even have been my account. But I was good at it.
Cold calling is like,
It's tough.
you have to be
gotta
all
be quick.
personality to
Quick.
cold call. What is it, 10 seconds you
You
have?
gotta hook
5
them quick,
seconds?
yeah.
And if they're not laughing like almost immediately, you might as well just hang up.
Talked to some lady that had like an ostrich. Like I remember these stories from when
Yeah.
I was 19. She had an ostrich farm. Never talked to anybody at the ostrich farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be quick. And I'll tell you, it's so funny because I consider myself a pretty good salesman. When I was training for State Farm, I went and you have to train in an agent's office, and they had me calling some leads or something. My first call was dog shit.
Yeah.
Because they're not words that you're used to saying, right? They're different words than I was used to saying.
Yeah.
I hung up the phone. They cracked up. I laughed. I said, that ain't ever going to happen again.
Yeah.
Right? I knew as I was saying,
Yeah.
it's just different. I wasn't used to saying auto liability limits and these things. It was so funny. And I remember that. And it was just like I hung up the phone. So when we have new people start and their first call, I'm like, look, your first call is going to be a joke. Like,
Yeah, it's going to be
get ready to
awful.
laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
And we tell them to go in a room and practice for a couple minutes, and they're still going to go with a boo.
Yeah.
So, but your 5th call, you get a little better.
Yeah.
And your 100th call, you get really good. And, your 1,000th call, you're really, like, people can hear me and my brother talk, but we've been talking sales for 30,
you could do it in your
My family
sleep.
owned a business when I was 15 years old. So
Yeah.
we've been in business a long time. So it's different when he and I are talking.
Right.
It's just,
What advice would you give if somebody's team member was listening to this? Like, what is one thing you would say to a team member?
My biggest advice that we give is to go into each day with intention. That's probably, and anything, not insurance, any job, any school day, you need to go in to every day with intention. And it doesn't mean you're going to rule the world intention.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're going to come in first place in everything that you're doing intention. But you might intend to show up.
Yeah.
You might, like when I was in the car business, while I was doing finance, I hated, I'm like 34, 32 at this time. Saturdays, right? You're working Saturdays. Your friends are all doing good shit.
Yeah.
If I went to work, my justification was going on Saturday was put $10,000 into finance books. If I'm working a Saturday, I'm putting $10,000 on the books. And I did every Saturday. There was no doubt. It wasn't not going to happen. And everything that I did that day was to make that happen. And it happened every Saturday.
Wow.
It wasn't that intentional on a Monday.
Yeah.
But I knew a Saturday was the day that was going to happen.
Because you just like, if
There's
you were
enough
going to be
business,
there.
right? There's more. And if I'm there on a Saturday, I better be putting $10,000 on the books. So whether it's insurance and whether your intention is to write one household a day, one life policy a day, make one contact a day, whatever you do, right? If I'm going to go to school and I promise to do one good deed a day, or I promise that I'm going to put forth my best effort in the class that I'm not doing the best in, it's have an intention.
Yeah.
every day with what you're something that you're doing. You can't intend everything.
Right.
It's not like I'm going to go out here and sell something and be the nicest person and have the most energy and hit the gym and eat good. But something's going to give.
Right. But if you don't go into the day with the idea that you might do all that, you definitely won't do any of it.
If I promise myself I'm not going to stick to eating healthy today, I promise you it's going to get ugly real quick. You'd be looking at your watch like, yo, I don't know if we can do dinner tonight. Like I can get, that's where, you know, if I don't put intentions on things can fly off the rails quick.
That's a good one. Okay, we talked a little bit about food, but you have I consider it to be viral TikTok. I don't have TikTok, so I don't know if you have one follower
it is not viral.
or a million followers.
That's not.
But you were telling us in Philly about some dinner that you did that was like, wasn't it like 100 courses or 30 courses?
I think we did a 32 course one time, I think.
Oh my gosh. What was like the most?
We did like it was like 15 in Munich. We did a 15 one.
Wow. What's the most memorable meal you've had?
All of them.
Every meal you have.
Look, you know, to me, that's like me going to a bar.
Yeah.
We're often at dinner with friends, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going to a 27-course tasting menu, it's with people you like, right?
Because you're sitting for a long time.
That dinner in Munich was like 4 hours.
Oh, my gosh.
And I only knew 4 people at that table. It was about 10 of us.
Wow.
Yeah. It was one of the best times. We had an amazing time. Here, I've been to some of those dinners where, it's me and one of my closest friends or me and 2 couples or whatever it is. But any meal, obviously, look, if I'm cooking, I cook all these dinners at home. My son usually eats later. I'm like, I did all this work.
Yeah.
But if you're at a meal with friends, like that to me that's my probably intimate time and that's my happy place.
Yeah.
I enjoy the food. Most of my friends are food people.
Yeah.
So we're not there like oozing over the food. It's just a fun time, right? You're laughing, you're having a good time. We all order like maniacs. You know, it's whatever you see that you like let's get it. Every meal is family style. And look, there's a lot of times I go out alone a lot.
Yeah.
I like to go out alone. I have no problem going out alone. So I'll sit at the bar and eat, and sometimes I'll talk to I'll talk to everybody.
Well, yeah.
So I enjoyed that. I don't want to say just as much because it's always nice being with your people.
Yeah. It's good that you can go out alone, though. I feel like a lot of people can't. I don't know if I could.
I like it.
You do?
I do.
Because you're just on your own clock.
I'll hit some people up, if, but it's not like I'm avoiding people.
Right.
But I have no problem getting up and going to dinner alone.
Yeah.
And I will have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll find people to talk to.
Yeah, I'll talk to everybody.
Yeah. All right. So every meal is the most memorable meal you've ever had.
The most memorable... Yeah, that's tough. I mean...
Those tasting menus are probably up there.
And we've been to some serious steakhouses. We've been to some, it's
all different too.
It's not always just whether it's the best food or not. It's the best time.
Right.
It's the best time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have shitty food and have a good time.
Yeah.
Right? Like I like a dive bar just as much as I like 40 courses or 20 courses. I'll take a dirty burger, grease dripping down your hand.
Yeah.
And that's going to be just as good of a time, and the food's going to be just as good. It's not about fancy.
Right. It's about who you're with.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up with, I want one just general life advice for any person, any age.
Well, I can't go with the intention part, but
you already used
that's
that.
really it. My biggest life advice would be to figure out what you like and figure out what makes you happy. And then do that and figure out how to make money doing it. If it's a money thing.
Yeah.
If it's not a money thing, then figure out what you like.
Yeah.
And do that. A lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I'm speaking for myself and other people. All of us. The royal we. A lot of people get stuck doing shit they hate with people they hate for whatever reason it may be. It's not good. So, And that's not to say you can just fuck everybody over to be happy.
Right. It's hard because you do have to be
There's obligations in life. And I 100%, I know I'm not saying you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if you're not happy at your job, you should not do it. If you're not happy in a relationship, you should not be there. If you're not happy with whatever it is, you either have to figure out how to fix it. And I'm not saying leaving is always the answer, right? The answer isn't just you quit or you leave or you disappear. You just need to figure it out because it made you happy at one point.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say you figure out what makes you happy. A lot of is this your dream job?
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't have to. You're not riding a unicorn, right? Shooting rainbows, but you got a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. If you didn't do this, what would you do?
I would want to be on TV.
Good answer. If you ask a lot of people that, there's a lot of people that actually couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
And if you can't tell somebody what their dream is, that's where you better start figuring it out.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm talking about, where you need to find what makes you happy.
Yeah, it's crazy how many people just stay, like you said, relationships, jobs, where they live, and they know they're not happy, but they just keep going.
Scared to make a decision. So in business, one of the biggest business things is I am not, and in personal life, I'll make a decision, and there's a lot of people that will agree with me on I will make a decision. It might not always be the right decision. It might not always be the best decision, but I will make a decision. Yeah,
you have to. You can't overthink things. It's painful to watch people overthink.
It's hard. You couldn't convince, the best salesman couldn't convince them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any last words?
No, this is great. I really did enjoy it. Thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
Well, now you know that you're only a short hour flight away, and you're used to the flight now.
I'll come up once a week.
Once a week we'll do one of these. No, but this was so good. Such a different perspective than anyone we've had on in the 4 short episodes we've had. But
well, I'm honored to be on the short list.
Yes. All right. That's all for now, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.